So, we know we need them to understand at least 3 things. First, that New York's renewable energy goals need to be enforceable. They need real teeth. That means utilities have to be compelled, at the risk of paying hefty fines, to purchase renewables every year. Or else we just get another pie-in-the-sky goal, strictly aspirational, good for a fancy press conference, but not for rising to the occasion of the climate crisis. Second, and I can see by the turbines raised in the audience that a lot of you are here for this, the new renewable energy goals need to contain a commitment to offshore wind power. Now, offshore wind has enormous potential in New York. Right off Brooklyn and Long Island are some of the strongest and steadiest winds anywhere in the world. And by harnessing that power, we can create thousands of new jobs and bring reliable energy to millions of homes. That means that any renewable energy plan that does not include a commitment to building out that industry is not adequate, period. So it's on us to make sure that offshore wind is in there so that 5 years from now we see those turbines spinning offshore. Are you ready to do that? Finally, and I know a lot of folks here care about this as well, we need to make sure that nuclear energy is not included in the Clean Energy Standard. Nuclear is neither clean nor renewable. It shouldn't count towards New York's renewable energy goals, and it certainly shouldn't receive dollars that would have otherwise gone to renewable energy. So that's it. It's not that complicated what we're asking. We're asking for enforceable goals that include offshore wind and exclude nuclear. Sounds like common sense, right? Let's make sure that Governor Cuomo agrees with us. Now, we are joined today by a phenomenal lineup of speakers and performers that are going to tell us why this is so important and why what we do will energy transition. First up, I'd like to invite Senator Brad Hoylman. He's been an amazing climate champion throughout New York. Yeah, give it up for Brad. A few weeks ago, he spearheaded a letter with Senator Krueger and 20 of his colleagues calling on the governor to commit to offshore wind in the Clean Energy Standard, and he's here to tell us why. Senator Hoylman.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thanks, Dan, and thanks to Sierra Club, Beyond Coal, all the activists, formerly fractivists, now wind activists. It's so terrific to see you. I want to give a special shout out to Ling Sao, who's here. We got to give her a round of applause always whenever I see her. And Justin Flagg from Senator Krueger's office is here. And Mark Dunley's here. I see him in the crowd. A round of applause. You know, I also got to thank Governor Cuomo. He's having this hearing tonight. We're all marching down to give him our message that we demand wind to be included in the new renewable energy standards, right? And the reason we want that, and the reason that Senator Krueger and 18 of my colleagues requested that, is because wind is the future. Let's face it, folks. It's colorless. It's odorless. It's tasteless in most places. And it's free. It's free. It is estimated that wind energy can generate up to 40,000 megawatts annually in New York alone. That's 11 million homes. 11 million. Let's all shout, 11 million, 11 million, 11 million, 11 million. 11 million, 11 million. That's part of our talking point tonight. I said to him, well, if you're not a scientist, ask someone who is. The evidence is in. Every leading scientist and scientific organization knows the peril, not that we face necessarily, but our children and our children's children. What are we going to do about it? Well, to paraphrase, the answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. Tonight we can make a difference with the Public Service Commission. We can tell them that we demand that renewables, like wind, be included in the clean energy standards. We have to thank the governor for his efforts, but we need to push Albany even farther. We got to take the skeptics on. Are we going to take the skeptics on? Yeah! Are we going to take the fossil fuel companies on? Yeah! Are we going to win for our children? Yeah! Are we going to march down to the PSC and demand that wind be included in the renewable energy standards? Yeah! Thank you very much. We will keep fighting, and thank you, Dan and the Sierra Club.
The climate crisis is madness, and the inmates are running the asylum. It undermines our human rights as well as our civil rights. We are addicted to fossil fuels, and our addiction is killing us. 2 U.S. federal agencies, the same ones who signed off on the Deepwater Horizon, released reports that claim that offshore fracking in California poses no significant risk to the environment. I guess they haven't been to Dimmock. This puts an end to a court-ordered moratorium and allows the Obama administration to continue rubber stamping offshore drilling. In the words of Pope Francis, we are at the limit. To use the appropriate word, we are at the limit of suicide. We are the first generation to fully understand the dangers of climate change and the last generation with time to do something about it. We must not rely on the current global economic order or our erstwhile representatives in government who feed at its trough to save this world from a human-induced mass extinction event. The total yearly amount of subsidies to the fossil fuel industry is a breathtaking, mind-boggling $5 trillion a year. $5 trillion to hasten the end of all sentient life on the planet. The Obama administration right now is bargaining with corporate Republicans in Congress to give independent oil refiners a new $3 a barrel subsidy as part of a trade-off to renew subsidies for renewable energy. The entire system is poisoning our climate, and it cannot be incrementally reformed or modified. We have to tackle climate change and inequality together. The world's richest 10% produce half of the carbon emissions, while the poorest, all 3.5 billion of them, account for just 1/10. In fact, the richest 1% probably emit 175 times more than the poorest 10%. The real culprit here is the fossil fuel industry and the mighty carbon barons who run it, a tiny, self-serving elite who actively distort the facts and hold back progress. So, are these masters of the universe concerned? Are you kidding me? Indifferent and untroubled, they continue to rake in the profits. Exxon, Shell, BP, they bloody well know the impact of climate change. So does a certain politician, the one running for president, who brought us NAFTA and now shills for the TTP and the TTIP and the Global Shale Gas Initiative. The concept of universal responsibility and voluntary commitments does not work. Nor can we, as Mrs. Clinton disingenuously suggests, just leave it up to any locality or any state. We need a revolution because we want justice. We need a revolution because we want our human rights. We need a revolution because we want our country back. We need a revolution like the warriors of Vanuatu and the survivors of Sandy and Catherine. We are not drowning. We are fighting. 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 God bless you all.